But 2017, that's how long you've been doing this. That's when you started streaming. Can you give us a bit of a backstory or why you got into it, how you got into it, and just go from there?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, it was around the time that YouTube and Twitch was coming into fruition in terms of their gaming scene. And I remember being really into a game at the time, and I think they were doing like a championship thing, and they're like, go visit us on twitch.tv/blah, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, what the hell is this twitch.tv thing? So I went on there. Oh, I just got a phone. I just went on there and thank you. Basically, I was like, oh, wow, this is incredible. This is live interactive stuff where I can talk to the person and basically they can respond if they're, not too much of a bigger streamer. But I saw this like kind of different community where it was a community. It was like the old days of like chatting with your friends online when you like come back home from whatever and you're like, oh, I just want to talk with my mates. It was like that. And because of it, I came from a background of editing. So I worked for BBC and Disney and Movie Network channels, which is defunct now, but basically as an editor. They give me a movie,
so you thought,
down to 30 seconds.
I'll go and use the platform where I don't have to use my skills and edit.
Yeah. And then as soon as I got on there, I was like, oh, wait, I could do like cut-ins and stuff, and I can do it as it's me. It's not somebody else's work, it's my work, and I'm kind of showing myself. So when I started in 2017, it was literally just like a hobby thing. I just wanted to put myself out there, see if people would be, attracted to coming and watching it and stuff like that. And it was basically a hobby. It was something that I enjoyed doing. It fused my arts of editing and acting, and gaming basically. Yeah. So that's where it started.
I think a lot of people feel the same. I know that for me, I always wanted to do streaming for that reason. I just didn't have the equipment or any of the means or even the understanding. You know what I mean? Like I very much came into Twitch as the most uneducated Twitch person ever. Right? Like I didn't know what cappers and all that stuff was, and I had to learn on the fly so aggressively. It was impossible. But I have your Twitch graphs. I've got your Twitch graphs up because everyone knows that that's the most important thing about a content creator. And
without a doubt, it's numbers.
I feel like we can run through 2017 all the way up to 2020 pretty quickly, if that's all right with you. Okay. You streamed and you did pretty well for those several years, but it wasn't until March 2020 where you really picked up and you broke that 100 average. What do you think happened around March 2020?
My memory is very hazy around the 2020 era. I don't know. I think people would call it being a COVID baby to an extent. But I think a lot of people obviously found, well, they needed entertainment and they wanted that live interactivity because obviously a lot of us were in lockdown. And from there, it just really picked up. And so, this world tragedy also led to the start of my career in this content creation field, which feels kind of dirty in a way, but also, I mean, you got to utilize it. But definitely it was the fact that a lot of more people were coming online. Now it's like, okay, how can I engage them with what I'm doing? And it just found a natural course where a lot of people at the time, I think, collaborated more because you only had that choice. Yeah. While beforehand, people were kind of in their own bubbles. Like if you were big, right? And you would bring people in. But now it was like you had to collaborate. It was the Among Us era. Yeah. Right? Where people like, okay, we can all grow together, and we need people to play this game. We can't just do it by ourselves. So it was kind of like a forced reality on them. And from there, I think that was a major part of it. People wanted to collaborate more because they were bored and lonely.
I feel like that collaboration meta has also never gone away. And you and I actually, we got some time with Dan Clancy. We actually got to, we had a Maker's Mark together. The three of us stood around and we drank some whiskey with Dan Clancy, if you don't know, by the Yarra, the CEO of Twitch. And we were talking about a bunch of different things. But one thing he said that was really interesting was that a lot of people feel like COVID was the start of Twitch's collaboration meta. And he said that might be the case for growth, that might be the case for the content, but the actual idea of Twitch has always been collaborative. It's been the streamer collaborating with his chat. And I thought that was such an interesting take because so many people, I think, don't realize that aspect. They don't realize that they're just going live, they're just playing a game. They're not really thinking about their audience and their viewer and how it's more like a stage show or a pantomime show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being a streamer is kind of like Dora the Explorer. You're there and you're like, you're there and you're like, can you see where the sub button is? You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I do know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
So I think it's a really interesting to talk about the Among Us era. Did you do much Among Us?
I do. I think I would say this is like for anything, any job that you have, it's about networking that's going to get you up. And it's the sad reality of it's not what you know, it's who you know at times. And don't worry, obviously what you know also plays a huge part in it. But if you don't have those contacts or those collaborations, you're never going to grow as fast or as steady as somebody who does those collaborations or is open to doing collaborations. You'll find that the people who are the actual instigators and go, hey, we've got this day that we're going to play this game. Are you interested in coming along? It's a huge thing because obviously if you feel oh wow, this person wants to collaborate with me, and also for them it's like they get a whole new audience as well as you get a whole new audience, and it kind of meshes. And I think that there's a lot of what should I say, a lot of gatekeeping for a lot of people where they don't want to let their audience outside of their grasp. You know what I mean? They're scared. Yeah, they're like, they don't want to collaborate for that thing. It's like, oh, then they'll go over to them, like this weird kind of mentality of oh no, I'm going to lose people. But as we know, churn happens whether you want it to or not. Yeah. And the thing is, we all rise together in this tide if we're all kind of collaborating. Now, keeping that in mind, obviously it's very hard to collaborate. I think that people go, oh, that's an instant path to success. We know that when we've collaborated in the past, our viewership goes down because sometimes our community,
my viewers hate you.
Exactly. Yeah, because they get split, right? Because they watch both of us, we're on at the same time, so they go from one to the other, and then your viewership goes down. But it's when you go for those people that you've never been with before that you can kind of see a better trajectory. You
know what's really interesting? I think you're spot on with that. One of the questions that's actually been asked, I'm going to pull out here, is from Liz, a lovely person, talking about how to find the right people to collab with. And I want to give an example of what's kind of the opposite of what you've just said, right? Okay. I agree most of the time, but one time I was invited to quite a big collab, right?
I know the one you're talking about.
I'm not going to say
I'm
too
not
much,
say it either. Don't worry,
but I was invited to quite a big collab. It was Among Us. It was my first big collab. Some of the people in that call were like 500 Andys, 1,000 Andys. Nowadays, they're like 4 or 5K, right? These are some big creators we're in this collab, right? And if I'd been friends and stuck around, I would have had chances to be in those spontaneous collabs, right? But it was so embarrassing and awkward to be in that collab for me because I'm in this Among Us collab. Everyone's talking, everyone's laughing, everyone's giggling with each other, cracking jokes. And then I said something. Dead silent. For like 10, 15 seconds. It wasn't even bad. I was just like, I just said, oh, that's really funny, or something like normal. Dead silence. And then I was like, oh, maybe my mic's not set up properly because we're using procs Among Us. So maybe my mic's not set up properly. And then a chatter says, nah, I can hear you just fine on their streams. They're just ignoring you. And then a little bit later, we're all there. We're in a meeting. Everyone's like accusing each other, doing stuff. And I go, yeah, I saw X creator stab that person. It was totally them. Crickets. I'm sat there and I have to mute my mic and look at my chat and be like, gang, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know if I've done something.
It was so clicky.
It was so weird. It was so weird, right? Yeah. It was so weird. But that can happen. And I think to answer Liz's question is you never really know if that's going to happen. Because all these people I chatted with and I was not friends, but I was on a good level with them. Yeah. And I don't know why that was happening. I think maybe they just had a dynamic that invited me along and their dynamic was odd. And this is a clip though. This is my first clip of the episode. This is a clip from a video with Reapz from November 21st, 2021. Okay. So this is before the big blow up of your YouTube channel, if that's all right.
Okay.
I'm going to put us
I
up.
can't see it. Should I be?
You can check the YouTube channel if you want. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll let you.
Okay,
I'll let you.
hold on.
I'll
Let
let you
me- let
open
me-
or Twitch. Twitch is probably faster for you.
Okay, hold on.
And so the reason I
Sorry,
bring this up is because Reapz is one of the few people who's reached out to collab with me, who has, despite anything that's happening, has always given me the appropriate time of day, and I've always given you the appropriate time of day. And I think it comes from the fact that both of us have done a level of theater and improv. And so you kind of get to the point where you're like, I'm going in with someone, I barely know them, which is what this was. And we just clicked so hard.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to turn the music off. I'll turn up the sound for everyone. So for context, this is me on screen over on the left here, if you can see this. And this is after about 2 hours of us just talking about cheese. Just talking about cheese and phasmophobia.
Oh, he right there. Get him. He's right over here. Wait, the ball moved as well.
It's so stupid. It's so dumb. But that video was one of my very first collabs with you. And I think you were very, for a little collab virgin like me, you were very kind. You were very, very, very welcoming. It was lovely. I'm going to pull this back up now.
I like Parmesan. I remember that. We did have a big old thing about cheese, and I was just watching you.
We literally talked for 2
at the
hours.
time. Yeah.
You were dead, yeah. But we literally talked for 2 hours about literally cheese.
Yes.
But
that's right. You said you hated Parmesan, and I was like, oh, really? And then you died because you thought the ghost was after you because you hated Parmesan. It was good times. It was good times. That's good collaboration right there.
I want to circle back around to that time period, right? 2021. You said that was the era of collabs, right? Do you feel like the COVID boom that you had, you went from 20, 30 average up to about 100. You know, you went from getting about 7 to 20 follows a month to getting about 800, 900 a month. Can you do that now?
Can I do that now?
Like, could anyone jump on Twitch and do the content you were doing in 2020 and see that sort of growth?
No, I don't think so. Because I think it really goes about seasons. Like, right, with the whole COVID being over, the whole lockdown being over, I think a lot more people don't have enough time to be like, oh, I can watch a whole 5-6 hour stream like they previously could. I mean, if you work from home, possibly, but it's always going to be a distraction. Well, I think at that time, it was kind of like there was nothing else you could do, and you wanted to be involved. You wanted to be amongst it, right? And now it feels like we're kind of going back to the norm. Like, don't get me wrong, there's still, things got in place. But for me, it's mainly kind of people don't have the time that they once did, and they need catch-ups. They need to be like, oh, what has happened? I haven't been able to look at anything this week. I've been so busy for X, Y, whatever reason. And they need that kind of backstory to be like, what's going on? Which is why I think forums like, live stream fail on Reddit, who love the drama, they want those little bits of information to be like, okay, so what's happening in the meta, the sphere that is Twitch at the moment? And I feel like, especially with Kick as well, it's much more about drama than it is about collaborations. Like, I feel like it's skewed towards that at the moment. So at this time, no, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying that you'd have to be a big exception to the rule at this time to get that kind of growth just from Twitch.
Yeah, so you're saying the discovery on Twitch has kind of been a bit weird lately because obviously people are back in the office. I'm seeing people in chat agreeing that they can't really catch streams as much because of it, things like that. And so a lot of that collaboration that helped people grow, a lot of that overall discovery, because millions of people flock to the platform, is kind of just dried up. And now we're going for different paths, which is nice because I think it's probably easy to talk about your YouTube channel. Can we have a chat about the fact that you've been uploading on YouTube for a very long time now? That video, as I said, was from November of 2021, and your actual uploads have been 4 or 5 years, so early 2020. Were you seeing success? When did you start seeing success? What changed? Talk me through it.
Like, sorry, cutting a bit in and out, but were you asking like in YouTube, when I started back in 2020 posting clips, like what changed?
I'm just curious about your journey on YouTube because I've just gone to your
Oh,
oldest and this video
yeah.
just you talking shit about ASMR.
Listen, we may have to put some of those in private, so get them now while you can. But yeah, I think my YouTube journey has been, I think everyone has their own path, right? Back in the day, it was like, why do anything else but Twitch because it's popping off so hard, right? And I think it's very hard for creators when they see, especially growth on whatever platform it is, to be like, well, why would I focus on another platform because it's going so well for me here? And that was a big oversight in my eyes because I was like, no, I'm going to put all of my stock into Twitch. But like anything, you can see it with Twitch, with TikTok, with everything. Like it can change like that, right?
Yep.
So I think the biggest thing for me was just diversifying. And I saw that there was a lot of YouTube creators who would stream once a month on Twitch, have thousands of people watch them, get all these subs, get all these bits, get all these follows, get all these viewerships and sponsors once a month. And I'm like, how the hell? And then you go to their YouTube channel and you see why. They have that following that will follow them wherever they go. And so I was like, oh, that's really smart. Like YouTube is evergreen. Twitch, you only get noticed when you're live. If you're not live, nobody's watching you. So if you've got this backup that is YouTube to show you all these collabs, then post it out there. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, don't post Twitch clips of yourself on YouTube. I mean, it's great for the community that you already have, but people aren't going to be like, show me random streamer with, you know, their best bits. Like, no. You have to go with like, here's the story, here's everything. But back then it was like, okay, I need to diversify.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting. I've just been scrolling through your YouTube channel while you've been talking. And what's wild is you can actually see you posting on YouTube for near 2 years or 2.5 years straight and never really breaking, 2 to 3K consistently or properly on a video. And this is, those videos have been up for 2.5 years now. So that's, obviously got to be taken into account. But then 2 years ago, you upload Faith, the Unholy Trinity, Chapter 1, all endings, full playthrough, 1 hour and 40 minutes, 100 times better than your average, 360,000 views. Talk me through why you made that and why you think it just did so much better than everything else.
Listen, I'm going to be completely honest with everyone here. We all played Faith. So I should say all of us, like the horror streamers at the time, Sharky, Walkerman, myself, other people in the Let's Split Up community were playing Faith because it was like a really big thing at the time. And also it was coming up to YouTube saying that shorts will become monetized, but you need to hit these thresholds. And I was always underneath the threshold of hitting YouTube partner, as it were, because I had like 3,799 hours, but I had the right amount of subs. It was just hard trying to get that momentum to cross over. So I was like, okay, let's change it up a bit. And Sharky was showing us the success that he had with shorts. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And Walker was showing like, yeah, this is the success I've had with shorts for doing Faith stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll throw my name in the hat. I'll do some Faith stuff. And so I did these shorts. And what I wanted to do with those shorts was just basically, obviously show the big moments in the game, but also add my personality. Because I think there's a big difference between, here's a really interesting part of the game, and then here's a really interesting part of the game with this personality that I like, that I'll come back for, right? Because there's a lot of faceless channels go out there. We'll talk about that later. But basically, it popped off. The shorts started really slow. Like, I'm talking, nobody watched them. But then it just popped off. It went boom, 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 boom. And it had the trickle-down effect because I didn't just stop on one and go, oh, this didn't work out for me. I did about 5 or 6 over the space of a week, 2 weeks. One of them popped off. Everything trickled down. Everything trickled down to the other ones. And they all started popping off. And if you look at my graph on like Social Blade, I got like 80,000 subscribers in a month. I hit 100,000 subscribers in 2 months because of those shorts. And from there, it was logical because you can link your long form videos on your short form. I was like, why the hell do I not just release a long form video of Faith, which everybody wants to see, and just see how it performs? And that's what happened.
I find that so interesting because a lot of people claim that short format does nothing to help a channel in terms of their long format. And I think a lot of the people who say that, it's more that their short format, it doesn't directly connect with their long format properly, right? Whereas for you, you were doing a bunch of faith content, and then in turn, when you made exactly the same faith content, it boomed. Of course it did.
Yes.
So I think that's really powerful, but also look at the absolute trajectory that changes. If you might not be able to see it, but essentially it goes faith, chapter 1, all endings, 360. And it kind of dips a little bit as more episodes come out or more chapters, because that's how YouTube is. People try an episode 1 and then we'll slowly dip down. But then you drop another episode 1 of sorts. Don't upset the clown. Exhibit of Sorrow's full playthrough. It's only 20 minutes this time, but it got 2.2 million views. Did you do shorts alongside that, or was that because of the overall channel's growth?
I did shorts alongside that as well. I think we'll probably touch on this later, but I'll briefly talk about it now. People look at shorts as brain rot, and I don't blame them, because a lot of the stuff that comes on your homepage will probably be brain rot. But if you filter through the stuff, you can find some amazing shorts. And I think if you're a content creator out there, if you go into it going, I can just get a ton of views, likes, and subscribers just from posting any old shit, right? No. It's like it's that old saying of like, go for the job that you want, not the job that you have. You know, also
I
dress
love
for the job that you want. Yeah.
I love that's a really good way of explaining it, actually, with the short format content, because you can go the easy route, or you can go the difficult route, but it's actually going to be benefiting you long term. Oh, that's such a good way of putting it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you go into shorts seeing it as like this easy thing to do, it'll take me 20 minutes to cut a short, well, you're only going to get that amount of viewers back in the long run. Maybe one pops off, but I guarantee you that it will not be on the same trajectory every time. You're going to put effort into that. We'll go into that later. But for me, the main thing was when it came to, I did research. Because I was like, okay, what are some games out there that people don't know about, haven't touched? If I did FNAF straight off the bat, I would not be where I am now.
Right.
There's so much stuff out there. I'm not going to be able to compete with that. But I know that there's a lot of games out there with a lot of lore that are very interesting that people haven't touched.
Okay.
So what I did was, it actually led off on the fact of like, with Faith, I did, here's the big moments in the game.
Yep.
You got that. But I was like, how am I going to expand upon this? And I was like, okay, how about here's some of the lore. Great. Okay. Not a big thing. How about some of the secrets? Here's 5 myths that you thought were right.
We are watching one right now. Yeah. We've got one up, which is your gun with one bullet, what you use the bullet on. And this is
that's my biggest short today.
This is your biggest short.
Yeah. That one is, I never expected to pop off like it did. But basically, I just showed the 5 different endings. It was great. I showed the 5 different endings of chapter 1. I said spoilers, of course. And then I did a funny joke at the end of like, if you shoot the well, you lose your bullet, you're an idiot, right? And because of that last moment, the amount of comments I got of like, you forgot to shoot the mirror, right? And so I was like, shoot the mirror? What the hell are you talking about? Which made me Google it, which made me find this whole other secret, which made me then do a short about the comments that I was getting.
Yeah.
And as soon as I put the comments on the screen, I'd be going, that's my comment, that's my comment.
Right.
And I realized from there, I was like, there are secrets that people don't know. Even though that these people know about it, these people don't know about it. So it like brought both of them into this like big old like hive mind, and like showing, you know, like streamers, like the stream is wrong. How could you not do this? How could you not do this? And it wasn't meant as a rage bait.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I could shoot the mirror. But
it's always a rage bait, though. It's always a rage bait. It's
going to be a rage bait, yeah. And from there, it just trickled down to like Exhibit of Sorrows is what you brought up. That is my biggest long form video to date. And the
2.2,
reason why it works so well, short game, 20 minutes, and basically there's no downtime. It's here's some clowns. The clowns get, you know, murdered, massacred. There's a lot of lore there that's not explained, that you can make up a lot of different theories, which is the best. Once they explain the lore to you, like point for point, there's not really much you can go. You can't make theories because it's out there. That's canon. But with this, and like That's Not My Neighbor, which I did earlier on, in December, October, really popped off. I could make my own theories because there's not lore about it.
Yeah. So while you were talking just then, someone dropped a really interesting sentence in chat, which was by Watt, who said, do you feel like older games may mean less coverage? Because someone else asked about your game selection here. And I want to talk about that because the games you're playing are very well known now, right? Yes. But I think a lot of the games that you pick up personally aren't super well known early on. In fact, I would go so far as to say when you get in on them, they're not quite there yet. They've just started on TikTok and they haven't boomed yet. And you still get the viewership. Personally, I've played games from like 8 years ago and gotten 500k views on a video. Do you feel like when it comes to game selection, it is the time you play, the trending you play, or do you feel like for YouTube, it's more about your packaging that really comes down to whether or not it's going to do well?
I think it's a combination of both, but I definitely think packaging is a big thing that you need because I've learned this and I'm still learning it. Like I'm not an expert by any means in terms of it. I am still studying. I am still like trying things out to see how I can, you know, really impact the viewers. But for me, if you've got an interesting game that's out there that not many people have covered, you can release a video and hope it goes well. But if you don't have the right packaging or the right reason for people to click on it or even view the first 5 seconds if it's a short, then it's going to go nowhere. So really, you do need to kind of figure out like, okay, what is the value in this that I can give to somebody? Because people aren't going to know this game. So how are you going to make them know the game? Which is why I start off. This is one of my tactics that you'll see more recently, and I actually used back in the day, but I don't put myself in frame until the first visual of the game pops up for 3 seconds. Yes. Because I think people are more interested in the game than they are in me as a creator, and which is fair, because if you've never seen me before, why the hell are you going to watch this guy, right? Yeah. If you see freaking Michael crawling on all fours, this monster you've never seen in Faith and Holy Trinity, and go, what the hell is that thing? You're more engaged to keep watching with the voiceover asking the question of, did you know that this monster is actually a 16-year-old kid? Yeah. That's like, whoa, holy crap. Well, if it's just me going, did you know? And it's like, nobody's going to click on that. Nobody's going to watch that.
I think you can actually see it in your thumbnails as you evolve to realize this in like real time. Yeah. It's a lot of your content is, and this is what most people do when they start out as streamers or as YouTubers or TikTokers. A lot of their content is what I call egocentric content. It's this game scared me. I'm the guy doing this. This is about me. This is who I am. Guys, click. Look at me. Look at me. And it's like, hold on. That might work if you're Ludwig Argren. It might work if you're Mr. Beast or someone like that. They know who that is because of the way it works, right? But when you're brand new, nobody gives a shit about you. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean, nobody even gives a shit about me, right? And that's called total audience metric. The total audience metric you are appealing to is if I put my face in, it completely tanks because the total audience, it doesn't know me. And you can see it happening here. It goes your face, your face, your face, and then it goes into the faith stuff where you see such success and you pretty much remove yourself from the concept at all times from that point forward. And I remember for this video, the horror game disguised as a point and click adventure, Endocopia. You and I worked on your packaging and your titling for that for like 3 days. We spent 3 days going back and forth on that title. And then again, Amanda the Adventurer. We did like 3 days going back and forth. We were like, should it be the kids show? Should we call it the kids show? And you were like, you know what? I'm just going to go with the game's name because I got to just do my best with it. Yes. And it's so interesting watching it literally happen live and the performance just being so much better despite the difference in subscribers and the difference in content not being that much. I'm just going to pull up your clown one, though, because I want to show your intro. Has Reapz frozen? No, he's not. He's good. So I'm going to pull up Reapz's clown intro, which is called Becoming a Killer Clown, because I want to talk about your intros of your videos, because you mentioned that briefly just then. Turn you up, turn this up. So this is the Becoming a Killer Clown, the Happy Hills homicide, right? So thumbnail doesn't have your face in it. It has the killer. It has the knife. It says you're going to kill someone. Then we click on the video. We know it's about becoming a killer clown. And this is your intro. Now, I want to reference or add context that this is 1 hour and 6 minutes long, okay? This editing does not stay for long, But this is kind of what you need to do to start with. It's a little bit, it's a little intense. So if you've just woken up, bear with us.
It's full on, guys. Z for kill. Don't worry, I'm gonna nail this. Say hello to my little friend. Oh my god, it went through his eye. I think we're gonna call him Pinhead. Welcome to the Happy Hills Homicide. This game is uniquely horrifying, or rather horrifyingly unique. It's one of the two. You see, while most games are first person where you're running away from the danger, this is a side-scrolling platform type game where you're running towards the danger because you are the danger. You are going to see some of the most gruesome and brutal kills ever. Can you do me a favor and type in a comment what you
I love this, by the way. That's such a good engagement bait. I love that.
I personally think it's chapter 12, but you let me know.
And then telling people to stick around to the end. That intro, I remember watching this intro when you sent it through and just thinking, this is a masterclass in sound design, in subtitling, in putting the cart before the horse, right? Like, and I mean that in the best way, right? I mean that in the way of you put what people care about right up front. It's you doing a brutal kill with a nail gun, which is what your audience is looking for. And then you bring it back, you reel it in, and you go, this game is one of the most unique things I've ever seen. Right? You're ever going to see this. I want you to think about how brutal these kills are. I want you to comment about which one you think is the most brutal. And I want you to stick around to about 50 minutes into the video for the one that I think is most brutal.
And the funny thing was, I didn't think it was the most brutal. I did that as total, like, engagement.
Exactly.
Like, okay, what's a good time to stick around? Yeah, it was like, it's awkward to say that, but I was just kind of like experimenting. I was like, okay, what if I do a pixelated, even though it is a pixel game, I'll do a pixelated image of this kill that hopefully people are engaged at. And if you look at the graph, people, I'm sure, skip ahead to chapter 12 to be like, what was that kill? But I was really intrigued.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And of course, what I did was I also chose that one because I know it wasn't the most brutal, so that other people could go, actually, this is the most brutal. Because if you do show the most brutal kill, they'll agree with you and they won't respond. But if you go, this one is the most brutal and it's not, they're like, you're an idiot. How could you not see that it's, you know? So I just tried all these different methods, and I'm not saying that it's the most ethical when it comes to like giving value and content creation, but I was experimenting at the time, and it did well for me, obviously.
I don't think it's unethical either. I think it's not even like bad clickbait or bad engagement bait or anything like that. It's just sharing an opinion, sharing a part of your personality, sharing a part of the game, and allowing other people to have a way to share back. Right? And that is the goal of a content creator, is to make someone feel something, make someone think something, and then hopefully that's a positive thing, or hopefully it's a fun thing. And I think that's absolutely, you don't have to worry about being unethical and saying number 13. That's what BuzzFeed does, right?
But I think everyone, like, I'm sure you do as well. You feel like you owe an honesty to your audience. You don't want to be this fake personality on there. And sometimes you just look at things through a different lens and you're like, oh man, did I really offer the value that I should have offered them, or did I not? And to me, it was really just an experiment. I've experimented with a lot of my shorts just to see what works. And I say things that I know are incorrect, but hoping that I get traction from people commenting on the actual facts, just to see what YouTube values more. Is it comments? Is it likes? Is it shares? Is it views? Is it swipe rate? Whatever it is. And I think from there, you can kind of understand what people want to see.
Yeah. I definitely think the thing people struggle with on YouTube is when failures happen, they kind of quickly give up, or they think maybe I just need to keep going, but they're not being reflective enough on those experiments. You know, I find YouTube Shorts to be the most difficult version of that, because people don't understand what an impression is. And so when they think of an impression, they don't even know what that analytic is. So if you're curious, what I'm saying is, to people listening, an impression for a normal video is when someone sees your thumbnail or your title either on YouTube or another platform, and that gets given as an impression under a traffic source being where the impression came from, right? And if someone clicks or doesn't click is what indicates your click-through rate. And that's a really powerful tool that people can understand if your packaging, your title, and thumbnail are good. With Shorts, you don't have a packaging. You don't, like, in terms of your thumbnail and title, you don't have impressions. So YouTube has to test the short. And despite what you've probably been told by large creators, no, you don't need to worry about subfeed or not subfeed in that regard because YouTube's quite smart. YouTube will always test a short, right? So suddenly a YouTube will upload a short. It won't be very good because they're new, and that's totally fine. But they'll get 500 to 1,000 views and think, that's amazing. Because a long form, brand new creator, 500 to 1,000 is awesome, right? But for a short, that's literally like the testing phase. That's them going, we need to figure out if this content is good. So we have to show it to people because there's no click. And then after 500 to 1,000, if it's a bad piece of content, they'll stop showing it. And you and I spent, I'd say, about 6 months with Sharky, just endlessly reviewing our analytics.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we did all of that. And then we realized about 2 months in that if we just looked at our monthly top performing shorts, they had the analytics there. It just told us. It was such a funny moment, right? Because we'd all been sharing all of our analytics, going through everything over and over and over. And then we were like, hold on, look, here's the top 10 shorts on each of our channels for this past month and the views they got. It says right there what the retention rate is, how long the actual short was, and what the viewed versus swiped was. And we were all just sat there quietly and we realized the exact same thing. At the time, it was 40 to 50 seconds long. It was 85% retention rate, and it was 80 to 85% viewed versus swiped. And if you did that, we would get millions of views. And it was such an insane moment for us where we suddenly realized, oh shit. Okay. And we just went ham. And I think that's changed now. You were telling me before we went live that it's no longer those rough estimates. What are you doing now in terms of your length, and what are you aiming for in terms of your analytics?
That's a great question. I'm still trying to find the right, I should say, balance for it. But like everything, algos change, right?
Yeah.
And especially with the inclusion of 3-minute shorts, because if you didn't know, shorts were originally a minute max, and now YouTube has expanded it out to 3 minutes. They did that back in October, but didn't get rolled out till recently to everyone. I think a lot of it's still kind of the same thing. You want a great swipe through rate. You want a great average view duration. But I think what people are underestimating is that, as you said, you are not going to pop off after one night, right? You are not going to do it unless you do what I saw, which really annoyed me. There are so many long form videos out there of like, hey, here's how I went from 0 to 1 million subscribers from shorts and AI and voiceovers and blah, blah, blah in 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is. You go into those shorts and you watch that video. It's literally drop shippers going, here's this product. If you subscribe, I'll give you one for free. And you can be like, wow, that's amazing. They got 1 million views from just saying you get stuff for free. Obviously, completely unethical. And two, how long is that going to last before people like, I didn't get my free X? Why it's not good? Like, it's a very short-term type of thing. But what I think you need to bring people these days is value.
Okay.
How many times have you gone and had like a computer problem and you try and Google, how do I fix this problem? And then it's a video and you're like, fantastic. It says exactly what I need to do in the title. You click on it, it's 20 minutes long. And you're like, brother, what are we doing here? It's literally, and then there's maybe this little bit at the end where they're like, and this is how you do it. And you're like, my God, it's about value. If you can give people value in that first 5 seconds and follow through with what you say, your views will go through the roof, because people forget that YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. So if they're searching for something, they want an answer to it. They don't want to be like, oh, let's go along for the ride. It's not Netflix where they're like, how do I sort out? You know, that they're on Netflix for entertainment. They're on here for obviously answering questions. So if you offer that value and follow through with it using Eljay, we talked about this on Stream Room, which was our podcast back in the day, many, many times. Trey Parker, Matt Stone, never use and, always use but. If you can do that well, you are going to pop off. That's all I can say. I'll let you cover that bit.
So some context for people who don't know what the don't use and use but is that you don't want a story. When you tell a story, you don't want it to be, today I went to the shops and I bought carrots and I paid for the carrots and I went home and I ate more carrots. That's such a boring, uneventful thing. And that means you're not telling a story. You're just telling a series of events. When you tell a story and you edit a short, sorry, I was putting my music back on. I just realized I hadn't turned it back on. Sorry, gang. You probably you hate the sound of our voice. Then you want it to be, I tried to go to the store. But my car wouldn't start, so I had to get an Uber. My Uber driver took the wrong route. And then, you know, like and as you go through and you want all these things to happen through your story. And I think that's something else that people lose a lot of when they try and do the clip conversion. I'm not going to name names, but there are several people who you and I know we've given like direct feedback and coaching to their YouTube channels, to their shorts, to their TikToks, like real actionable stuff. And then you go look 6 months later and they're still just doing Twitch clip directly converted to YouTube short. And it's like, sometimes you're going to pop off because sometimes naturally that clip is going to be a story or a piece of engaging content or really, really funny. It'll just once in a blue moon match it all. But 90% of the time, it doesn't do anything. And it's like, why waste your energy doing something like that? You know, why waste your time trying to get empty views, trying to get empty engagement, trying to get what is essentially just using people, right? And I find it usually just comes down to they get told over and over, you need to do this, you need to make this content, right? And then they go, okay, I need to go make YouTube content. I don't really want to, so I'm going to stream and then do the laziest possible route I can.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And I think I learned that as well because when I first started off, I thought it was just post a clip, here's a funny bit, everyone will engage with it because it's so funny, but there's no context around it and there's no like lead up to it. It was just a bit in time that you've got to try and condense down. And I think if you are a new content creator, as you said, there's this weird thing of like shorts will ruin your channel. Bullshit straight off the bat.
Yeah.
I think it's good to start off because a lot of people want to jump in and do long form. And I think that's great. But keep in mind that the amount of work you have to put into long form, and you know this more than anyone, Eljay, is if you want it to work, you've got to be a pro. Like you've got to go through trial and error for a long time before you'll finally see success. And a lot of people are turned off by that because they don't see that overnight success, right? If you can do a short, I think this is a great experiment to do because we did something back in the day where we decided to post a short every single day for 30 days. And I think I was close to it. I think I got 25. I'm not sure if I did the full 30, but I learned a lot.
Don't you try and revisionist history this bullshit. You did 3 days and then gave up and said it was too much work. You do not revisionist history this. I did like
5 days in a row.
Bullshit. I did 11 days and then I realized I was the only one of the 4 of us still doing it and thought, fuck this.
25 days in a row I did. And basically what I learned is that if you've got an idea, okay, so those people, you know that you've got this amazing idea, you want to make it a long form video, right? You're like, this is the one.
Yeah.
I dare you to take that video idea and put it into a 1-minute short. Not only will you see that, oh, there wasn't a lot of value in that to make it a 20-minute epic, but I also think you're going to learn a lot about trying to get all of these amazing ideas that you have, condense it down into a minute because you've got to pick which are the most pivotal and important moments that you have to include. And that is such a valuable thing to learn because sometimes people waffle on, and I get it. People sometimes want to hear that deep lore, that deep thoughts and opinions and everything like that. But for me, I know, like I said, if I'm going onto YouTube, get to the point, you know, follow up on that title and that thumbnail that you had, like within at least the first minute. Otherwise, I think you're not heading down the path that I thought this video was going.
Yeah, they leave really so quickly because people don't understand what clickbait is, right? They think that clickbait is some sensational bullshit, but it's not, right? It's about one of those. It's about clickbait. It's so hard to say the word clickbait because I clickbait near every video, but that's not a bad thing. I'm trying to bait a click, but I want to also be kind and follow up on what's being said. If I tell you that, like, for example, my last stream scheme video, if I tell you, don't be fooled, this company is scamming small streamers. At the very start of that video, I genuinely, I straight up, I say, you are probably getting emails right now from a company that is trying to scam you. Right? And then that entire video is just me talking about how dodgy this scam is. Me not adding the company in the title, me telling you that you're probably being scammed in the title, stuff like that is technically clickbait because I'm trying to bait a click. But it's true, right? It's not clickbait if you deliver on it and you're still being ethical in the way you offer value, which is a word you're probably going to hear a lot, right? So you said something really good there about condensing an idea down to 60 seconds. That is probably one of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard someone give in terms of wanting to start YouTube. And the reason is twofold. One, back when I was in uni, the very first project we worked on as a 5-man film crew, right? Because that's what you do in first year. You get given assignments, but you're doing a crew essentially, because I did media, was to make a 60-second long short film. And at the time, this was sort of just before TikTok blew up. This was before YouTube Shorts. This is before Instagram, like Reels, all that sort of stuff popped off. So I'm kind of old. And I remember thinking to myself, 60 seconds for a whole short film? Get out of here. How are we supposed to do that? And then my teacher said, it also has to be exactly 60 seconds. It can't be 61. It can't be 59. And I was like, oh my God, this is so... No, like we're not gonna be able to pull this off. We did. And that changed so much about how I look at content or film or media or anything. And it was this moment where we were in the edit and we were just cutting so much crap out that wasn't needed. We were tightening shots. We were saying to ourselves, do we need to see her walk all the way down there? Can we just show her getting up and that's enough that people understand she's moving somewhere else? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like those questions that we asked ourselves became a big part of how I edit to this day. And now, based on the fact that I had to do, 7 to 8 months worth of just grinding YouTube Shorts, Pokemon YouTube Shorts, I then went into starting a whole new channel, completely faceless, where I was taking 8 to 9 hours worth of gameplay footage and cutting it into like an hour, right?
Yeah.
The amount of stuff I have to cut in 7 to 8 hours, right? But you have to tell this story and still make sure people have context. And I think that was just, I wouldn't be able to do it if I, A, hadn't spent so long doing YouTube Shorts, B, been taught that lesson of has to be 60 seconds, has to be a short film early on. I wouldn't be where I am. I got 2 million views on my long form last year in the very first year of creating that channel, entirely because of those YouTube Shorts forcing me to learn how to cut anything that wasn't important, anything that wasn't valuable.
I completely agree with you. And if people can't reduce it to 1 minute, then you don't have an intro for your video. Because if you cut down an hour, footage or whatever you think is your main long form video into 60 seconds or even 30 seconds, you use those 30 seconds as your intro into the video because it's the most engaging thing that people will possibly ever hear. Because if you're like, and wait for it, those videos where it's like, wait till the end. You're like,
Did you see it?
Nuke stuff, but yeah, did you see it? It is that thing of just like, I think your mentality comes so hard into question when it comes into shorts. Look at the way that I've viewed shorts is the way that I kind of view my channel. I don't see it as cheap. I don't see it as like this easy route to take because believe you me, YouTube will shut you down if it's crap.
Yeah.
You're not going to get all these amazing subs. If everyone could get those subs, then why isn't everybody doing it? Because you got to find that right formula and the formula changes. To me, it's about the fact of like, I want people to see my stuff and go, wow, this is engaging. I want to see more from this guy. I want to hit that sub button because I like what he's got to say.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I know that lots of the times it's just kids hitting the sub button on their mum and dad's, mobile. I get that. But I also know that I am putting something out there that the YouTube algo is going, this is worthwhile. This we can push out because it's actually hitting these things that we need in the horror gaming niche.
Yeah. And again, I think summary of that is just value, right? And that's such a tricky word, isn't it? Value. But I like using it because often I tell people when I watch their YouTube Shorts or when I watch their content or their stream, I go, hey, do you realize you're asking for more value than you're giving? And they'll go, what do you mean? I go, well, you're asking people to subscribe constantly. You're asking people to go to your Twitch channel constantly. You've got half your screen covered by advertising telling them to come follow you somewhere or subscribe here or there. Like, you're so focused on what you're getting out of this piece of content that you're uploading. Where is the time where you're giving to them, right? Like, this is supposed to be for them. And the reason I say that is because YouTube pushes constantly the same ideal, which is we do not push creator videos. We pull videos to viewers, which is a completely different aspect that I think most people go into content creation for. In their head, they're thinking YouTube is going to push my video out because it's a good video. And it's like, no, YouTube is going to look at what viewers like, look at what viewers are engaging with on a positive level, and then they're going to bring that video to them, right? It's about the viewer. It's about shifting your mindset so that you're not just being like, I'm live, I'm funny, so therefore people should be here with me. You know what I mean? Like it's almost, it's egocentric content creation. So before we, I want to quickly add something here in the middle of all of this. If anyone's curious, I am noting down all the questions that you guys are asking. If it's something that's on topic, as you heard, I'm pulling it in. If it's not fully on topic, I'm saving it and we'll jump back into it at the end of the stream. At the end of the stream, we are also going to be raiding Reapz, who will be live on Twitch. I will link that. We'll go over there and we'll give him a little raid when he goes live.
Thank you.
Here's where I want to kind of twist a little bit, because obviously we are Stream Scheme. People do focus heavily on streaming here. You have been streaming for a very long time, but all this YouTube success is not necessarily converting to a huge boost in average viewers. I think you've got massive views coming in on YouTube, and you don't really tell people on your shorts. Your 50 seconds of like what one gun bullet never once tells people to go subscribe or follow you on Twitch. Why? Like, talk me through.
Yeah, that's a great question. What I do is like, I'll do the usual thing of like in the comments, I'll be like, I also stream over at Twitch. Click on it if you like it. But for me, people aren't there to be spooked about the stream that you have. They're there because they want to learn about the topic that you've given them in the first 3 seconds. So if you're doing this thing of like, hey, yo, check this out. Here's this crazy lore about Poppy Playtime. By the way, I'm on stream. I'm right now on Twitch. That may work on TikTok because I know it does. Because immediately when you see this like 20-second TikTok and they go, I'm live right now, you can click this button, people will do that. But for me, it's like, I want this to be evergreen. I don't want people to go back and be like, what the hell? It's like me going, go over to Mixer right now. You know, Mixer's defunct, right? It's like, then you've got to trim that section out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So again, I think people are there to watch shorts. People are on YouTube to watch videos. If you're in the live streaming YouTube stuff, you will be there because you want to watch live streams, and they're not going to offer you videos or short form there. Just know your audience, know your platforms. Like if I'm on Instagram, right, and I'm posting like these Word documents as photos going, so I did this today and I thought about all my inner demons, people aren't interested in that. They want to see lifestyle. They want to see you on a beach. You know what I mean? Like living it up. They want to see what you are on that platform. They're not going to YouTube to see your photos, like they're not going to Instagram to see your videos. You've got to know your market. And for me, it's like, I love the community that I have on Twitch.
Right.
We started back in 2017. And people know me, I know them. They know what they're in for. It is a scuffed stream. We make fun of each other. We play games together. It's just a community hangout. And I don't want to inundate people over to the YouTube unless they over to the Twitch unless they want to go by offering that in the comments, because they'll want to look at the comments if they want to learn more about it.
So are you almost worried?
Kind of mentality,
right? Like are you almost worried that like a short with 4 million, 5 million, whatever it is? I think your biggest one is what, like 20 million or something like that. It's your biggest one's 15 million. So are you actually a little bit worried about the idea of 15 million people who are interested in faith coming over and looking at your Twitch stream? Is that something that concerns you?
I think, I wouldn't say concerned, but I know that I'm not offering the value that I want, because I have had people come over and they go, play Faith. And I'm like, I played Faith in December of 2022. I've done it. It's done. There's videos. There's shorts. I've done everything that I can possibly do, apart from the lore, which is freaking intense. And I said, I'm going to play Faith when Chapter 4 comes out. So I let them know. But for me, if you never evolve, like I never would have found Exhibit of Sorrows. I never would have found Happy Hills Homicide. I never would have found Enocopia. And those are another big series for me, because when I bring it down to the nitty gritty, right? I think to myself, what is a great premise for somebody to stumble in on if they're in this genre? Because I think are we
classifying, just quickly, are we classifying like someone stumbling into your stream or someone stumbling into a piece of content? Sorry.
Into my piece of content.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
No,
in
you're
my
good.
stream, it's very hard because you're in the middle of playing a game. They just have to be along for the ride or not.
Yeah.
But when it comes to my content, I know here's what you've got to do. In my
very confident. Hold on. I'll put you full screen. Clearly, he wants. Okay.
I do this. Know your niche. So my niche, I quickly found out, is horror and horror gaming. what is a big trope that every horror movie and horror game does? They give you rules, and if you break those rules, you die. So I started every single one of my shorts off with never do this, because here is the outcome. That was my value. Never do this. Why shouldn't I do this? Bam, end short, right? Then I went over to here's 5 myths. I'm going to give you 5 myths. Bam. What I've recently done is this evil entity is more evil than this, yada, yada, yada. And my hook, instead of saying stay till the end, is hear me out. Because I think that's a lot of it's a nicer way of saying that you may not believe me, and I'm not saying this is truth, but hear me out before you judge, right? And I put that in every single one of my shorts, apart from the 5 Poppy Playtime things, hidden secrets in Poppy Playtime, because it just didn't fit into there.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like my new catchphrase. I think if people see the word never in the title or never, they will relate it back to me to an extent, because they're like, oh, I've seen these shorts before. This guy always says it.
Yeah.
But it's a formula that works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't work, you move on to try something else. Just know what will hook people. Like, again, my first foray into horror was watching Scream. And it was great because it was so meta, right?
Yep.
And there's the scene where Randy goes, guys, you should never have premarital sex. You should never do illegal drugs. You should never go, I'll be right back. And that's where I got the idea for like, never go into the school in Faith the Unholy Trinity. Because people know that
you're playing on the trope, right? And then you're going to spring the trope on them in a way, right?
Which one of the ones that did so well was never go into the school in Faith the Unholy Trinity. And then I literally said, I'm going to go into the school in Faith the Unholy Trinity. Like that was my hook. And immediately people stayed on. But I think another big thing that I didn't touch upon before in what keeps people interested in your shorts today is we know about the hook in the first 3 to 5 seconds. You know that. The rehook is what you need to do halfway through. In terms of like, if you've answered a question that you put in the first, 3 to 5 seconds, you've got to give them something else to keep them watching until the end.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've answered this question, but because of this, it expanded to this. And people are like, oh, holy moly, I didn't know that. Because if you just do the one topic for a minute, people lose interest real fast.
Yeah, of course. I can attest to that quite heavily, because one of the ways that my shorts did so well was I did 3 main series. The first one was Squirtle, aka Pokemon Wordle, where you would have to guess what the Pokemon is via like a Wordle series of guessing, which people loved that because they'd be guessing along at the same time as it happens. And then they'd have the big reveal at the end, obviously.
Yes.
And then what's really funny about those Squirtles, was that if I ever solved it really quickly, I just delete the file. Because if I had a 10-second recording of me guessing at first go, it became useless because a 10-second short is never going to work. So people would be like, he always takes 5 guesses. He's clearly cheating. And I'd be like, no, sometimes I suck. And those are the ones that become good content. But then the other one was I would pick a Pokemon and I would say, I'm going to Wonder Trade this Fuecoco over and over again until I get, and I would spin a wheel, and the wheel would land on something and say, you need to trade for a Pokemon that's very kickable, right? Which is such a funny concept. Like, okay, he's looking for a kickable Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then it goes through and I'm like, oh, Squirtle, he's too cool to kick. He's better than Charmander. You drop all these like gems that are going to piss people off or make people laugh. And then eventually, after a few trades, you'd come across something like a beloved Pokemon that I personally don't like. And I'd go, oh, him? Yeah, he's kickable. Look at his little face. Bah! And that would just be end. We would just end on that, right? And it was just so good because people wanted to know, A, which one was clickable. And then B, but when I finally found one that was kickable, I would make fun of it and they'd be pissed off and they would go to my comments to be like, how dare you kick Jigglypuff? And I'd be like, what do you mean? It's literally a soccer ball. Like,
it's so smart, dude. Like, it's so good because you do have those diehard fans, and if you do give them a little poke, they will come out in droves.
Yeah,
droves.
Dude, okay, so I want to get back onto streaming topics for you because I think your stream is where you shine so hard. I had a bunch of questions about your highlights and major moments in streaming, but I think instead I kind of want to jump into how you feel about streaming now. Right? You're a content creator. I'd say you can either call yourself a streamer, a YouTuber, or a content creator. And I would call you a content creator because right now you're split between streaming and actually like creating content, right? On YouTube and things like that.
Yeah.
Where are you at in this journey? Where are your priorities? How do you feel?
That's a great question. As you said, I started streaming in 2017 as a hobby, so I'm coming up to 8 years in March of streaming. Don't get me wrong, like the first 2-3 years, I streamed quite inconsistently, routine wise. I love streaming. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my community. I love doing it, but I just know that in terms of actual mechanics, actual like logistics, you can't be healthy all the time and go live on those days, right? And when you can't go live, you don't get money, you don't get paid, you don't get exposure, you can easily drop off. And for me, I want to keep the content creation journey going. So I think for me, streaming is an additive to content creation. Like, it's when you can get those people who really love what you do, whether it's long form, short form, everything in between, bring them all together and have fun with them for a bit. You know what I mean? Like, we're all in this journey together. We can basically interact, ask questions, make silly jokes, and I can also make content out of it if I feel that it's good enough. You know, like it's not ruined by anything, right? But to me, it's like, I know if I'm going to survive in the content creator sphere, streaming has very much, like, we see drops in terms of viewership on Twitch overall, right? Like every year, year in, year out, there's drops and drops and drops, drops. But they are trying to combat that. But for me, I feel like my focus is on YouTube because it has long form videos, short form videos, live streaming, both landscape and vertical, posts, polls. It's got everything kind of into it. And don't get me wrong, the reason why I'm not going everything into the YouTube basket is for two things. You need to diversify, and Twitch is still, to me, the mecca of streaming. Like, they have not seen that conversion over to YouTube. Not saying it's not going to happen, but I also have these amazing people on Twitch that I love seeing, that I love gelling with, you know, basically shooting the shit. And I think it's so important to know that they are the reason that got me here in the first place.
Right.
And the reason why I don't do four streams a week, 6 hours like I used to, is because, one, it's just not value for my time or their time. Because let's be honest, you're not going to watch a stream for 6 hours anymore. You don't have that time.
I can barely watch you for 30 minutes these days, to be honest.
Mate, I can't look at myself in the mirror in the morning. That's how sick of myself I am. But for me, it's like 4 hours is a great in between, because you can catch me for a bit. You can be like, okay, I've had enough, I'm out. And also it allows me enough time after stream to create content to put out there, which funds me, which gets sponsors interested, that I can fund my career. So for me, streaming is great. It's additive. It is not my sole income. My sole income, I think, will be more from YouTube, because it's really picking up. I'm really enjoying doing it, and I want to explore this avenue that has opened up to me over the past 2 years.
I love hearing that, because something I always ask people, and it's on our run sheet today that I was going to ask you after this question, literally next, was about whether you find streaming fulfilling as a creative, like as a creative person, and what makes it worth it. And I feel like you've kind of nailed that. While it's not, you're not going hard on it as if it's a full job. You're instead looking at it as, this is kind of my reward for making all that YouTube content. I made all this YouTube content. I did all this stuff that's doing well. I worked hard over here. You know what? My reward is I'm going to go live on Twitch, and I'm going to have a good time with the chatters who know me. And I'm going to try my best to brighten their day, because they brighten my day. Right? And
Preach.
I love that. That's amazing.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, because
it's
they are
I
the
could
ones
never
who
do, by
got
the
me
way.
here.
Like it's not a matter of I can't do it because I don't like it. I am so broken in terms of streaming that it needs to be a very intense, specific piece of content. I can't vibe anymore. Like, it just, my brain doesn't work that way. That's why I love this series that we're starting, is because I can sit here and talk to you for 90 minutes and then have a piece of content and go, I feel like I definitely added value. Because I just can't do it otherwise.
So I feel you, man. There was many times that, like, if I can be honest, there was times that the thought of streaming kind of made me feel ill, because I felt there was a certain expectation on me to always hit these high value type of, like, here's a scene, here's a video, here's this. And it was just like so much work that I wasn't getting the value out of it that I previously did. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that I like streaming any less. It's just my priorities have shifted to be like, okay, let's make it more of a community fun thing where I get to hang out with these people that I have a great time with, rather than this is my career. If I don't go live, if I don't hit this, if I don't get this amount of subs. That's why I don't put the 0 of 20 sub daily goal. That's why I don't do that shit, because I hate it. I feel like I don't give you value for that. Well, if it's like, okay, here's the content that I put out on YouTube, here's the content I put out on TikTok, Instagram, and everything like that. I'm seeing views come in. I know that I'm giving you content. Now I can hang out with you because I don't feel that burden of like, I have to rely just on this, if that makes sense.
I think that's also a reason why I really struggle with Twitch as a streamer these days, is because fan funding, meaning funds that come directly from the people who support you and love you. I don't judge people who do it. I don't think it's necessarily evil. It's just I come from a background of like literal poverty, right? And in my head, it's so hard to escape from the fact that people on Twitch are spending like 8 or 9 Australian dollars, right? That's how much it costs to support a content creator. And then if it was me, I would get not even 50%, I would get technically 50%, then tax, and then my own tax, and then everything else that comes out of it through other fees. And so it's like someone's giving me $9 of their hard-earned money, but in reality, I'm getting like $2.50, $3.
Yeah.
And I can't shake that feeling from the back of my mind every time someone gifts or donates. And that's why YouTube, again, is so appealing to me. I know it's not the perfect streaming platform. I never pretend that YouTube is this perfect streaming platform. I think there are so many prerequisites for YouTube that are a problem, like the fact that it has to be a piece of content that is contained and tight, and there's a reason to watch to the end and all that shit. I know people hate discovery and blah, blah, blah. But the fact that my memberships are $1, they are $1 USD or $1.30 AUD. That just makes me so much more comfortable, because I know that my videos and my shorts, they're at least worth $1 a month from someone, right?
Yes.
And I don't feel as bad doing that. Even though I technically earn less, I earn like 80 cents per one then, 70 cents. But at the same time, it's like, it's $1, right? Like no one's going to be struggling with $1. I hope not, at least. If you are, please don't do it. Please, for the love of God, don't do it.
Do not.
In fact, give me a ring. I'll give you $1. Okay.
But you make such a good point there, is that like I think Twitch would do really well. I even brought this up to Dan Clancy, who's the CEO of Twitch. I was like, can't we set our own sub goals? Because then he'll be like, no, because there'll be a race to the bottom. And I disagreed with that, because it's like, no, because people will pay what they think their value is worth. Anyway, but for me, my biggest fear is the fact of like, the reason why I do this content outside of Twitch is not only because it fills me creatively and I really enjoy the growth there, but it's also the fact that sponsors see these numbers and they want to give you money, and that's company money. And that funds me. And I'm like, great. So I don't have to rely on you, this lovely person who's spending time out of your day, which is the most valuable thing we have in this world, is time, and to give me money so that I can keep doing this. Because I feel so
10
guilty.
Charizard, by the way, just you said.
Oh, sorry. Yes, a 10.
Just please make sure that my Pokemon cards are referenced when talking about my value. My time is worthless compared to my Pokemon cards. Thank you very much.
That is, I'm sorry. I should have brought such a sore matter in this forum. But yeah, I do feel guilty. It's the kindness of strangers. They're giving you money. You never feel good about it. Well, maybe some people do, but I'm just like, you see, this is just a complete aside. You see those big streamers and they do these huge subathons and they get hundreds of thousands of subs. They're already millionaires, and I get why they do it. But I feel to myself, it's like, how do people not see that they already make more money than you ever could, and they don't need this money, but they're doing it because they just like the numbers, right? And you know what? I get it. Maybe I'll be in a same situation if I did it. But for me, I just have a feeling of guilt. I love it. I love the fact that people think I'm worth that. But if I can get money from companies, I can keep streaming, not have to worry about the income. Everyone can just have a good old time. That to me is the ideal situation for a content creator.
Yeah. And on that note, I'd like to announce the Stream Scheme Subathon. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'll be doing 2 hours live if we hit this goal.
No, I think subs are really a really tricky conversation to have, and I do think Dan has a point about the race to the bottom, but the race to the bottom is kind of old school thinking. There's a lot of really big content creators, and I won't name names, who I've spoken to, seen in real life at events, or even just seen them posting online about the race to the bottom, and it's very much a fear, right? They they earn a lot of money from the fact that they get 50% of 5 USD roughly. And the race to the bottom logic is like, it's them being like, I don't want to be forced to compete with someone who is offering better value for $1, right? Yeah. Each to their own. Not going to judge anyone for feeling that way.
No, I get it.
So I want to move a bit more forward, continuing on the streaming side of things, right? We've had someone ask about where you would start from zero today, right? So say you're completely brand new to content creation. You still got your skills, but it's today. Would you start out as a streamer on Twitch, a streamer on YouTube, or would you start out by posting only TikToks or posting only shorts? Or what is the first thing you would do if you were trying to start a content journey right today, tomorrow?
Right. And so this is content creator, not a streamer journey.
Either or, right? Like this is
okay.
if you wanted to get to where you are today, what is your first priority? Like imagine you're still your 9-to-5 Joe Blob, right? You're working a Monday to Friday. Maybe you're doing overnight shift changes. Maybe you've got everything else going on. You yourself, where do you start out? Where do you prioritize your time if you wanted to make this sustainable?
With everything that I know now, I'll do both. I'll do both at the same time. So if you're a streamer, I would start off with having a consistent schedule. It doesn't matter if it's once a week, but I would say that I'm going to be live on Sunday at exactly 4 p.m. every week. So people know exactly kind of where you're going into. I would also stick to a niche or a game to start off with. I wouldn't do variety off the bat because again, if people come and see you play Undertale and then next week you're playing Apex Legends, they're not going to stick around. So just be sure that the games that you play are kind of similar in tone and you engage with that. Keep in mind that when you are streaming, you are trying to create content in the back of your head so that you can create videos, whether they're short form or long form. But just know that people are not there to watch the short form or long form because of you. They are there to watch it because of what you're going to bring. That is a different take to what they've already seen. So for instance, I know that you can get a lot of views right now if you post stuff about Marvel Rivals. It's kind of the big thing at the moment. People are doing like, you should play this hero. This hero actually sucks. They'll get lots of views and things like that. But how long will that last them? I don't know. So I would definitely be in the mind of like, I'm going to stream this amount of time and I'm going to stick to it. I'm not going to go over unless something crazy happens. I'm going to stick to it because if you have an hour and a half of streaming, you've got an hour and a half of content, it's so much easier to whittle down into what you need rather than streaming for 8 hours, hoping that people find you, because they're not. Also, I would make sure that you stay away from the big games at the moment, Fortnite, freaking WoW, whatever it is, because people are not going to scroll all the way to the bottom to see the 0 viewer count. And just know that if you do stream, you are not going to get viewers straight away. It's going to be very hard for people to find you because they don't have that discoverability at the moment. However, if you go on TikTok, I've told you about that, where people post their shorts and then they go, I'm live right now on TikTok, hit the thing below, and they will find you that way, which is great. So for me, I would definitely be focused more on evergreen content.
Okay.
And then streaming is what kind of backs that up. If I'm streaming, I'm doing it because I need to make content and I'm trying to do the best of both worlds rather than do it offline. So that's how I would approach it.
I
know
like
your niche.
Yeah. I like the summary. I think the summary there is really nice to say, I'm streaming because that's what I want to do, but I'm not doing it because I think it's going to grow. I'm doing it to create the content that's going to go onto the other area and bring the discovery in, which I think has kind of been the case since pre-COVID. And then there was like a year there where people kind of forgot. That was kind of the path. And that's where they went from there. Yeah. And they still forget. Because for me, right, like I decided I'd move. I decided I'm out. I'm doing the jump. And it was because I couldn't pull myself slowly away from streaming. I had to rip the Band-Aid off. And I don't regret that at all. I actually think that taking the time to just be a YouTuber for so long has meant that this is going to be a job for more than 2 years. When on average, I think you only get like 2-3 years full time as a content creator, unless you're very adaptable. And by doing that shift has meant that I know now I can probably get a good few years more out of it because my skills have changed.
Agreed.
Okay. Moving forward, someone has asked about motivation for you.
Yeah.
How do you get up in the morning? How do you go and actually force yourself to do a job where no one is technically holding you accountable?
This is a great question because I was literally thinking about that this morning. The best thing about being a content creator is that you are your own boss. The worst thing about being a content creator is that you are your own boss. You are the only person to hold yourself accountable for the success or failure that you succeed in. So I think you have to kind of model it what works for you. What works for me is not going to work for you, right? But for me, it's like, okay, instead of worrying about I have to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of June, instead think about I have to create 5 pieces of valued content within this upcoming month of February, right? So I've got to do 1 a week and an additional one, which is different from those 4 to see if there's like a middle ground, right? And for me, the big thing is that it's going to be hard. Everybody starts off with 0 views, 0 followers, 0 everything. It's really about your journey. And for me, if you put something out there, just know that it's not going to pop off overnight. It may, but chances are it's not. But if you keep doing something consistently, it will pop off. One of them will go viral. And that means it's going to trickle down to the other ones, like what's happened to me. And from there, that's where you get this burst of energy and motivation. Because again, motivation isn't something you can turn on and turn off. You just feel it. And you've got to be disciplined. Some days you're going to be like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go live. I don't want to edit something. I don't want to film something. But you have to do it. Because if you were in one of those things where you work a job, there are many days that you're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go, but I have to go because I need to get paid. Think of it like that. You don't need motivation to do something. You need discipline. So get motivation out of your head and change it over to discipline is what I would say, because you will see a payoff.
I often tell people motivation is just the reason for doing something, right? Yeah. And if your motivation for doing something is bad, then you're not going to have the discipline to do it. And so I often ask people, are you doing YouTube and streaming for money? And if they say yes, I go, then you're probably going to quit very early, right? Because you can't release something and instantly start making money off it. You're not going to do 2 years at $0 or less investing money, so negative. You're not going to do 2 years and earn nothing and have all this time spent and keep going because you wanted the cash. That's why you were doing it. Whereas I think if you look at Reapz' YouTube channel, we're scrolling through right now slowly, you can see he's been consistent, but it's more important than that, it's consistently reflective. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like he's still uploading Jason Voorhees is in Phasmophobia. These days, he's changed a lot more. Like he's actually gone and been reflective about what he's uploading and how. And that's one of the most important parts about, I think, the discipline motivation conversation is asking yourself, am I really doing this? Right?
Yeah.
Am I really working as hard as I feel like I'm working right now? Am I putting the best foot forward? Or am I just kind of doing it because I think I'm supposed to be doing it and I'm wasting my time?
And I think a good point is that when you do get into content creation, as a lot of people who are watching hopefully want to get into content creation or are getting into content creation, you are going to have those days where you can't stop thinking about content creation. You're going to feel guilty about playing a game or watching a TV show because you need to do this. You should be doing this. But keep in mind, you do need that downtime. You're not going to be, I think a lot of people, to go on about this, they see a big creator and they go, oh my God, they're streaming like 8 hours a day. They're releasing 10,000 shorts. They're releasing 50,000 long form videos. They don't realize that they've got a whole team behind them who are literally doing everything on their end, while you yourself are just one person. So if I can ask you one question, what do you think you can do yourself in the time that you have that's going to get you the most eyeballs on your content, right? What are you going to do? And I think it really comes down to evergreen. Like, again, if you're streaming, people can only find you when you're live. If you're sleeping, people will find you through your bloody videos. You know what I mean? Like, they will then follow you on Twitch and hopefully catch you there. But just keep that in mind, is that you do need time to get away from it. Don't always think about content creation. Have a hobby on the side, because you will eat yourself alive. And that's when motivation goes, wham.
I do find that the times of my life where I've made the worst content are the times of my life where I've only done content. You know what I mean? When I've had time away to, be a friend, be a family member, be a dad, or go get beers at PAX with friends. It's those times where I walk away and I come back and my streams and my content, they feel more authentic. They feel more me. But if I spend all my time just on Twitch absorbing stuff, it all falls apart, which is actually one of the questions we got asked in the community post leading up to this stream. Someone asked, hey, I'm 13, 14 years old. What should I do to start? And I might take this one because I'm a bit of a hot take about it. If you're 13, 14 years old and you want to be a content creator, I would say don't. Because at the end of the day, you can start this job anytime. When would you rather start it? When you're at the 13 years where you're anxious, where you're not super confident yet, you don't really know the lay of the land, the world, when you've got friends, when you're at school, and you have all these chances to grow and meet people and gain experience, right? Do you want to go live as a 13-year-old and not really be able to share or connect with other people in your chat because you've just, at the end of the day, not really experienced much yet? I genuinely believe one of the reasons why I am successful is because I didn't start this job until I was already 23, 24 years old. And by starting at that age, I had matured enough that I had stories I could tell about my life. I had spent that time learning how to use cameras, how to use lighting. I had done improv. I had done theater. I had done film acting. Like, I'd done so much stuff in my life that when I went live, I was a more well-rounded creator with a lot more that someone could take away from. Not to mention, starting as a 22, 23-year-old meant that I could, I'm trying to find the right word, have empathy, or relate is probably a better word. I could relate to a 15-year-old in my chat. I could relate to a 19-year-old in my chat. I could relate to the 22-year-old in my chat, and I could relate to people around my same age or a little bit older. If you're a 13-year-old, you can really only relate to other 13-year-olds to a degree because you've not been 18 yet. You've not been 25. You've not been 30, you know? And I find myself now, having matured even more than when I first started, being able to relate to so many more people on a better level as a creator. You know what I mean? As a father, it's just immense to be able to see other fathers or other mothers in my comments asking how they balance their time, and me being able to finally answer and go, hey, I'm in the trenches with you, right? I get it. Here's how I balance my time now. I couldn't do that before. And I think that goes across the board. If you're young and you're starting out, you're much better off becoming a well-rounded person, figure that stuff out, and then come into it later, right? I don't know if you agree with that because you started quite late as well.
Yeah, it's such an amazing point because you're right. You don't have that life experience, and you need that life experience. I remember when I got out of high school, I auditioned for drama schools, and one of the big ones is NIDA. And I made it all the way through to like the third and final round, and I got cut. And they brought me aside and they go, listen, we really like what you're doing, but you're only like 17 years old. You need to go and see the world and travel. And I thought that was just like a bullshit excuse, right? Like, oh, get out of here, see the world, you know, that type of fake words, right? But it's so true. Like, if I was looking back on this and I saw this, like, you know, teenager trying to be like their heroes, I'll be like, live a little before you do it. Because once you're in it, it's going to last very short. Like you said, you've got about 5 years until people they find somebody else. There's only a very few people that can survive for like 10 years. You know what I mean? And even then, you look at their bodies of work and they're not doing weekly uploads. They maybe like post once a month, right? And then they've got all this downtime and then they come back. Like Corey Kenshin, he took like a whole year off and now he's back doing like very sporadic things, but he's still big because of it. I say you need to find yourself. You need to be confident in who you are, because let's be honest, you're putting yourself on the internet for anonymous people to talk about you in whatever regard that they want. Like, you are putting yourself out there, and especially at a very young age, that's going to affect you a lot. If you've got a thin skin, it's not going to be great. The first, I've said this story many times, I went live. The first ever comment I got was a guy typing cuck in huge capital letters, C space U space C space K. That was my first ever comment. So if you're not ready for that, then yeah, man, like, don't do it. Don't do it until you're ready. Yeah. That's a good point, Eljay.
I think it's so interesting you bring that up as well, the negative side of things, because Liz, one of your mods, also said that in chat just a second ago. But for me, when I first started, I was totally fine with the negative comments because I was so assured of myself, right?
Yep.
Then I spent a bit more time maturing while I was still a creator. And the reflection I went through as a creator, I actually lost a lot of that self-assurance, that kind of younger cockiness that came from being early 20s. And I became more aware of who I am, my talents, what's going on with me, and things like that. And a lot of that negativity actually really hit me. And I had to be way more reflective, way more careful and about how I presented myself and who I let in, right? Whereas now, through the other side, as a near 30-year-old, I don't care anymore. People can say what they want about me because I'm very assured that what I'm doing is, at least to me, what I want to be doing. You know what I mean? And so you'll go in waves of, as you go up, you'll go, yeah, I'm really confident now. Nothing else affects me. Oh, actually, it's all gone again. I know nothing about myself and my life. Oh, it's all back now. I'm actually okay. But I'm sure when I'm 32, I'm going to go, oh, I know nothing about my life and anything. Oh, God. You know,
much like numbers, much like views, it's a roller coaster with your emotional state. And I feel it. Sometimes you're like, I'm so locked in. I know exactly what people want. I know that this is going to pop off. And then you're like, I have no idea what people want anymore. What am I done? Am I, all over Red Rover? It really is that kind of thing of just, you have to reinvent yourself, not only as like a person, but your mental state as well when it comes to content creation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting. I have a lot of friends who start YouTube and they get really boomy. Like they get a huge amount of views really quickly, or they'll slowly build up to a huge amount of views. And then they'll see this little dip and they will just absolutely panic. It is like the fucking alarms go off being like, I'm dying. Oh my God, everything is going wrong. And I tell them, I go, hey, do you want to see what my last 4 years of stream scheme looks like? And I show them, and it's like, you know what I mean? And at this point now, I am at a point in stream scheme and with content creation that even if I'm getting like fuck all views at the time, it doesn't stress me out because I've got them. I know it's gonna come back. It's all gonna come back in a full wave. So I think that's so interesting. I want to quickly jump onto a question that someone's asked in our chat very early on that I made a note of and we kind of missed. I'm going to make you full screen for this. Reapz, you have a very impressive green screen.
Oh, okay.
Like that is, if people don't know, a full CGI set on a green screen that Reapz has created or had created for him, where they're not on right now, but he has multiple camera angles. He has movements. You're all right. Don't worry. He's got multiple camera angles. He's got all sorts of things. I had someone ask, do you think a large, unique event, or not event, look or brand is crucial for success in this industry?
No, definitely not. I feel like it's trending the other way. When Twitch first started, people were finding out the parameters of what was available through OBS. And obviously there's a lot of plugins that you can download to make things a little bit more professional, a little bit more quality, as some may see. But don't get me wrong, this is definitely like, oh, that's really cool. They put a lot of effort into it. But at the end of the day, you're not coming to look at a set at the background. When I'm in my gameplay, this set isn't here. I think the most important thing that you need to do is, I feel like the trajectory is more towards a personal feeling of you're bringing people into your room, your home, as it were. Like you'll see people with like lovely kind of lighting in the background and shelves with all their kind of like miniatures and stuff like that. And people really like that cozy home vibe. I find a lot more than kind of like I'm presenting, which is what I do. I can definitely see that trajectory. But no, I mean, if you want to stand out, sure. If you've got the funds and you've got the time and you want to do it, go for it. Anything that like makes you stick out more, great. But just know at the end of the day, people aren't coming for this. They're coming for you. And so as long as you can work on your personality, the content that you can bring people, and just filling in those awkward silences, like you said, knowing improv is great. I come from a theater background myself. It's just that you need to know how to dictate it, because it is your stream, and don't let other people try and change who you are on stream. Because I see a lot of people do that. Like they see something that's popular on another person's channel and then they try and bring it onto their channel, and it just seems forced. It's like, look what I did. Force. Like I used to do that. Don't get me wrong. Forced, look at this. And it just seems out of the blue. You're like, well, that's great, but it doesn't really play into what we're doing at the moment. So just don't lose yourself in what other people are doing.
Yeah, in the moment, don't lose yourself.
Sorry, you want it. You never let it go.
No, I only got one shot, one chance, one opportunity.
I
want to mention something you said that's really interesting, right? Is that I think during my streaming career, there are times where I've made that mistake, where I've lost part of myself. And I find it really interesting because there are also times where I've yoinked things and they've gone really well. And for example, you did mansion reviews where you watched people do tours of a mansion, and then you would watch it and you'd react and laugh and make fun of the rich people and stuff. I watched maybe 10 minutes of you doing that while you were live, and I was like, yoink.
I don't think it's anything new. I think I stole it from someone as well.
I'm
so
sure,
don't worry
right?
about that.
That became like a running series for about a year of me watching these things, which eventually devolved after about 3 months of doing it to me just playing fart sound effects every time the real estate agent bent over. That was But the thing is,
that's peak comedy. Yeah.
It became so consistent to the point where I had my most views during my just chatting react section, and then I would try play the game and people would be like,
"Oh,
sorry, bro. I don't actually give a shit about you playing Valheim. I want to see the fart sounds."
Yeah, that happened to me too. Yeah.
And it's I think, I don't know. I think that's just part of it, right? Being able to yoink something and find a way, if it fits for you. I think I tried a lot of stuff and a lot of the time it failed. But at the same time, that's what being a content creator is trying something, failing, and then doing it on a stage in front of people. Again, why you have to be a decent amount of thick skin for it. Going back to the questions, because we are kind of wrapping down. And remember, guys, Reapz is going to be live on his channel in about 25 minutes. And we are going to be raiding him from the Twitch, because obviously I can't raid from YouTube. So we'll be wrapping up here when he heads off, and then talking over on Twitch for a bit, and then raiding into him so you guys can see his content in action and see what he's talking about. I want to go on, and this is a question we've had a lot throughout the day and also over on the community post. What have you found personally to be the most difficult aspect of content creation?
I mean, there's so many difficult parts of content creation, but I honestly think the mindset overall, and I know that's a very general term, but people, if you ask people what is content creation, I think they will come back to you with a different answer each and every time. They'll think content creation is making a video. They'll think content creation is streaming. They'll think content creation is making a short or releasing Instagram posts, whatever it is. But for me, the mindset is, at the end of the day, there's so many platforms out there that you can put your content onto. Do you need to put it on there? Because you have to split yourself 5 different ways, right? So I feel like the biggest thing that I have to come up with and remind myself of is, what is my overall goal? My overall goal is to create a brand that people come to know as fun, informative, and entertaining. Like, that is my thing. I want people to know the name is Reapz, and they go, he's the guy who did the Never series, he's the guy who does theories, or he's the guy who makes funny, streams, whatever it is. But that, to me, I've narrowed it down to, if I'm going to put my platforms in order in terms of my, I should say, importance or where my focus is, it's YouTube number 1, Twitch number 2, TikTok number 3, and then the rest, right? And the thing is, those other ones I can post stuff on, but it's not essential. If I miss it, so what? Oh, well, at least I've got another hour of my day to focus on something else. So it's always like, know your goal, know the mindset you need to get that goal, and don't be distracted by what's working for other people on different platforms and be like, I'm going to try and get on that. I'm going to try and get on that, because I did that and I saw things tank because I had too many, trying too many different things at the same time, and there is no focus. So mindset and focus is the most hard thing for me.
I absolutely love that. And I know I've said that to a lot of the things you've said today, but it's just because I'm secretly in love with you. But we'll move on from that. And instead, I'll say that I agree, because I find my content flops the hardest when I'm trying to do too many different things. When I was doing shorts and long form at the same time, either they both sucked or one was doing well and the other one sucked, right? If I was just doing shorts, I was getting 1 million views per short. If I was just doing long form, they were always doing really good. Now I have the problem of, I have 2 channels. I have this one, and I have my new side channel that's faceless and gaming and secret. And I find it so interesting is, whenever I'm working on a stream scheme video and a gaming video at the same time, they're both going to flop. But when I take, so I'm stuck now where I take like a month to release a video per channel. I haven't uploaded to Stream Scheme in 48 days. And that's because I've been working on a video for Eljay. And it's just so impossible to split my focus down the middle between the two of them, right? And that is mainly because I also don't have a team. And you don't have a proper team. I think you've hired editors in the past, but it's mostly just you. And we both, that's a whole extra 2 hours we probably can't get into about how to hire an editor and why it's impossible.
Yeah, oh my God, my God.
But that focus is impossible. And it's why I tell a lot of people, if you are genuinely going to try and do this properly, pick one format you love. Pick the format you adore and just focus in and do that in the best way you can. And for me, I had to stop doing shorts because I didn't find them as creatively fulfilling and I couldn't balance them with long form. So now I just do YouTube long form. I don't do any other platforms because I physically do not have the focus. I can't split the focus.
I feel you, man. Yeah.
I can't do it.
I feel you. It's difficult. Like there's just people put too much in their shopping cart, as it were, and it overflows, and then you just get angry and you give up because you're like, it's too much work, and that's because you put too much work on yourself when you should just be, as you said, focusing on one thing. I think that's probably the point of the day. Focus on one thing and then expand out. Don't try and do everything at once because you will burn out like that.
Yeah, which we have just had someone ask, is it too much to do multiple different areas on one channel? And I think at the end of the day, this is probably another mistake everyone makes, especially streamers trying to make a YouTube channel, is they jump between topics. They're like, I'm going to upload today me doing GeoGuessr because that was my stream. And then I also streamed this other just chatting segment, and I streamed this other game, and I'm going to put all these things up as clips and videos on YouTube. And it just doesn't work. Right? Like you are doing horror now and you're being consistent in that niche, and that's great. And that is why you see success. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I find that if I'm consistent towards the same type of content, I'm not doing the same thing every day, but I'm making something the same audience would enjoy, then I'm going to also do better. You don't have to share every aspect of yourself to your socials. You can just pick one little thing. I like horror content. I'm going to do horror content. And yes, I also do like movies and reacts and stuff like that. But you know what? I'm going to save those just for me. You know, that's me. That's my time. I'm going to stick to that, right? I could talk for hours on movies. I think you could too.
We have.
I'm not going to, but that's for me, right? I don't need to share that. I pick my area. I'm going to cover streaming because I love it. I'm going to cover indie games on my other channel because I love it. You know?
Definitely separate your personal from your business. And I know that's the most cliche thing ever, but seriously, I find that a lot of people are like, I got to get on Twitter. I got to get on Instagram. I got to post this, that, and the other. You'll see that my interactions on Twitter and Instagram are low because it's not my priority. And I learned that straight off the bat. It's not my priority. I like my personal life being personal. I like my business life being business. I don't want to blur the line between them that I feel like I have to, oh my God, I'm out for the day. I've got to take a photo to at least keep my presence up online. Fuck that. Like seriously.
Hacks is the worst for that, isn't it? Going to a con.
Oh my God.
You go to a con and like every 3 seconds you realize you're in the background of one of your mates' photos that they're tweeting out. And you're like, well, hold on, dude. I'm actually like 8 pints in, you know, I'm currently talking to Dan Clancy about how he likes the idea of being a flat earther. I don't want to be in your 5-second boomerang on Instagram, right? Like easy.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, but I have to do it too because I want a free pass to come back next year. Fuck.
Yeah. It's so true, man. Like it's a bad thing, but also I understand it's part of the job. But for me, I'm just like, I don't have that type of ADHD when it comes to all the different platforms, like having to post it all out to different things. As you said, focus on one and separate your business and personal, because if you make everything about like, I need to post this on a social platform, you will be miserable. You will be so miserable. You'll never have time off.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, if there's any last questions, we are going to start cooling down now. We are going to start heading over to the Twitch channel to do kind of the after dark Q&A section with just me while Reapz gets his stream ready. But if you have any other questions, feel free to throw them in now before we lose him forever, because he is going to die. I'm
going to be elevated to the next plane of living and existence.
Jaquillo says, I have ADHD. I want to become a YouTuber and streamer. How do I keep myself consistent when I struggle with being focused and managing other life duties? I will preface this by saying we can only give our personal story about how we keep ourselves consistent. I don't believe that either of us have been diagnosed with ADHD. We do have friends such as Nick Tacular, who we can link later if you want to go check him out and ask him when he's live next, who does have ADHD and does a really good job. But Reapz, how do you personally on your day break down your focus for jobs and life duties?
That's a great thing. I've only recently started doing this, as we always do at the start of a new year. You do your New Year's resolutions, but I am doing the big old checklist, the tried and true checklist, where you write down everything that you need to do or want to do. And then once you've written down everything, you then mark it from 1 to whatever the number is. So 1 being the most important, I have to do this first. 2 being the second most important, because I know that I struggle with, I've got so much stuff that I've got to do. I've got to do this sponsor, I've got to do the stream, I've got to do this video, I've got to keep up social life, I've got to do grocery shopping, I've got to clean the house, I've got to look after my cats. And even just writing it down and ticking it off, doesn't it feel good when you tick something off? You're like, done, get the hell out of here, you're out of my mind. Write everything down that you need to do, check it, and then write the importance next to it. That would be my big tip.
One of the things that I do that I find really valuable with my checklist is that I have a page in a notebook and I write at the top the word priority, underline it, and then I write 3 tasks that are the priority for that day's work. And the idea of that is that I don't have control over my own time anymore as a father. That's just a fact of it. I'm going to get a call saying that small J at daycare tried to jump off a table while roaring like a dinosaur, and I have to go pick her up because she's cut her head, right? And that's definitely a real story. For the first 6 months of her daycare journey, there were many calls about the fact that she was roaring like a dinosaur at other kids. And I don't have that control anymore. So by having those 3 things that are my priority, that is exactly what I focus on. And then I have a general task, which I'll have 4 general tasks that I want to complete. And then under that, I'll have 3 house tasks. So I end up with about 10 things total that I can work my way through, and I know what I need to get done. Right. So, for example, if I were to look at yesterday, I won't show you because the house stuff does have criminalizing evidence there. It says script next stream scheme video, create the thumbnail for the next stream scheme video, and then prep Reapz' talking points. Those are my 3 priorities that I had to get done. And then it goes into make sure your OBS is logged in. I haven't streamed in a while. I had to check. But
make sure things work.
Yeah. But I had to tick these things off, and when I tick them off, it's good. But the most important thing is that when I look at it at the end of the day, seeing that I've achieved what I needed to, that's just something else, right? Because everything you do as content creation is so vapid or it's intangible. But having that piece of physical paper in front of you that you're like, I fucking ticked my 10 things off, holy shit. Or I got all my priorities done, holy shit.
It's such a good point. Like, honestly, it's very hard. As a content creator, you barely have any time to yourself. And when you do, people want to see you and you want to see them. But it's a struggle. It's a struggle because you're dead. I know, like we talked about this very briefly, but when we stream, afterwards, you're just like a blob. I know that I was. I'm just like, oh, I cannot function. But I know that I've got to edit this short because today, obviously, I'm doing this interview. I'm doing a short stream. And then I want to get a piece of content out for Poppy Playtime 4 because it was released today. So I need to get in on it before it's gone within a week. So I know that this is a big day for me. But obviously, you want to see your friends, you want to see your family. But it's like, okay, this has to take priority at the moment, and then I'm going to make up for it the next week or whatever it is. Just be sure that you do put out those boundaries for yourself.
I spent so long getting through a bunch of work for Stream Scheme stuff before today because I wanted to release a video last night. And then I saw the news that I use a clip of a person in this video that I'm reacting to, and they have been DMCAing anyone who talks about them for the past 2 weeks. So I'm like, I'm gonna give it a week. I'm like, I want the video to go out today. I had to apologize to the sponsor and say, look, I'm going to have to remove your sponsor because you wanted it out in a certain type of thing. I also don't want to risk you being DMCA'd. I'm not going to post it for a week and then we'll do it, right? And that stuff happens. But I just thought it was so interesting. I spent so long with my priority tasks being like, I got to get this shit done for Reapzy. And then just fucking...
I'm sorry about that, bro.
Hey, man, you want to get DMCA'd? Okay, I think we might start wrapping that interview up. I'm probably going to end the YouTube side of things. Guys, if you check the description, you'll see a link to mine and to Reapz' stream. Reapz won't be live right now, but I will still be live over on Twitch. We're going to be doing Q&As and more stuff over there. And then if I don't mess up the ending of YouTube stuff, I will be raiding into Reapz. If you don't have time to keep watching though, please go check Reapz. He's in the description. Give him a follow as well. And I think, Reapz, thank you so much for your time, brother. Honestly,
Honestly, thank you, man. It's always easy to talk to you. It feels like times evolved. The thing that I do want to bring up before anything is that you will realize in content creation, it's very lonely. You're basically just in a room by yourself trying to do it. So when you have these interactions, and especially when you see each other at cons, that's why we talk about sometimes we don't want our photo taken because we're just hanging out with our good mates, our brothers in arms, and don't want that kind of documented because it's, you know, that time away from a camera. So
because you're talking to Dan Clancy about how he's a flat earther.
Listen. Have you seen the proof? Sorry.
It's gonna be great because people aren't gonna know if this is legit or not. Because we proved that we did talk to him at PAX.
We did talk to him about flat Earth, yeah.
And now they're gonna be like, wait, is this really? Is that actually?
Yeah, let's get on live stream fail. Like Dan Clancy, flat Earther. I do want to say thank you to everyone who came out as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, if you are a content creator or trying to be a content creator, the reason why I got my start and where I am right today is because of this man, not me, Eljay. I don't know if I'm pointing to the right side. I watched his early videos and I messaged him and I said, wow, dude, you're doing a tremendous job. I'm not sure if I asked you to collab or if I just gave you a...
You sent me a Twitter DM saying that you wanted to collab, but it was also the most authentic message I'd gotten yet. So I was like, I'll trust this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get a lot of people who are like, I have 150 CCV and I would like to combine our CCVs. You know, like, it's like,
yeah. But for me, it was just like, I saw this guy and I was like, oh, a fellow Aussie, he's killing the game. He's teaching everybody how it is. And when we went to PAX, the amount of people that came up to this man and was like, thank you for everything that you do. I worship your feet. Tell me what I could do. And he's like, oh yeah, that's okay. Doesn't understand how much of a big deal he is. But please, if you're not following Stream Scheme, if you're not following Eljay, just do it because you're going to learn something more invaluable than I could ever tell you because I go to him for all my advice as well. So yeah, that's what I'm going to say. But I'm now going to stream Poppy Playtime 4 and let's hope it's good and doesn't crash my computer.
So gang, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Head over to the Twitch stream now because we're going to raid Reapz in about 5-10 minutes once he goes live. And also I'm going to be answering more specific questions over on Twitch while we wait for that. So feel free to head over to Twitch right now. Reapsy, I'm going to take you off the screen and I'm going to cancel the call. Thank you so much for hanging out today.
Thank you, my friend.
See you later.
Have a lovely day.
Yes, you too. I'll see you in your stream in a second.
Bye.
Oh.